Hey, Fubar63 here with my video about sizing once fired Lake City brass for 7.62 by 51, otherwise known as 308, but this NATO would obviously be 7.62. I just purchased this last week. This is about 500 rounds of once fired Lake City 7.62. I bought it. Company in Florida, Everglades, ammo.com. Great company, great customer service, great everything. They did good. I bought 500 of these for about 80 bucks. I imagine that price is going to go up, but these are all once fired. They are ballooned pretty badly because they're most likely fired, I would guess, from an automatic, M14, probably automatic weapon. But the headspace in my particular M1A is 1.631, and that's key. Obviously when you're shooting a M1A, you want to make sure that you get the headspace, because there's the obvious problem with the M1A is the slam fire or the out of battery fire. So we'll spec this out, and first we'll use what I like to use, which is I initially start with the Wilson headspace gauge. You might hear it referred to as a go-no-go gauge, but basically this is just a crosscut of a chamber of a gun, in this case the 7.62 or the 308. So you slip the case in there, and as you can see, man, this bad boy is ballooned badly. It's not even close. That's really bad, actually. Let me try another one. We're going to size that one because that's such a bad boy, but let's try another one. That's a little bit better. As you can see, what's supposed to happen here is you've got, if you can make this out, you've got a bevel right through the center of this thing. If you can make out that bevel, it's at a level that's a bit lower than the outsides here. It's I don't know what the actual dimension is. It's got to be very, very small, but what you ultimately want is the head of the case to be at or below the outside and above the inside bevel. And you probably can't make this out. This one's actually not bad compared to that other one, but it's still above. There's no way you could see this, but it's still above that top one slightly. So what we're going to do is we're going to size it. Now I won't size this one. This one was in such bad shape. We'll size it. So that was the headspace. That was a Wilson go-no-go gauge. Let's actually put a gauge on it and see what it was. I'm using a Hornady cartridge headspace gauge kit. This is the number 400 unit that's on top of the base unit, and this is for the 308 7.62. So we'll gauge this booger out. It's hard to believe. Yeah, it's at, if you can see that, it's at 1.635. That's pretty substantial. This one, if I was to load this and fire this in my M1A right now, I would probably get an out of battery fire because it sticks so far out of the chamber. So we're going to size this to get it down within the specs that I need. So to do that, we're using a Hornady New Dimension die on a Hornady lock and load press. And the die is torqued down farther than I normally would do it. I also load for all my other calibers, and one of them is a 308 that I deer hunt with out of my Ruger M77. And when I set the die up, we want the shell plate to just touch the bottom of the die at cam over. Now, if you know what cam over is, I'm sure you know, but cam over is where this the press comes up, touches, and slowly drops back at full length of this. So normally it would touch it at cam over, and you would hardly even feel it, but in this case, for this particular 7.62 Lake City brass, I've got this die torqued down to where there is a substantial amount of pressure at cam over, and it's because of the little bit of press flex that I have here. So how we're going to size this is we're using my Redding lube pad, and I've got this pad really, really thick with lube. So I'm going to lube it up, and I mean it's not sloppy, but it's wetter than I would have it normally, and I can feel a substantial amount of lube on it. I think this is probably behind my press, but I'm using a Lyman case neck dipper. That's the cover for it, and I'm just dipping the neck in some mica and running that into the into the inside. You can see actually on the outside of it, there's some mic on the outside, but gets on the inside of it. And you want it to be wet with lube because it is so far out of specs. You really got to work it. I mean, you really got to work the brass to get it to where you want. And there's a lot of friction and pressure on the expander ball and the outside of this die. So I've got it in my press. Man, that was a tough one there. That one was torqued in there. But the thing to do is you have to do it 2 or 3 times. So what I've been doing is once I pop the primer, you can see this New Dimensions die just took even the crimp military primer, it took it out no problem. Torque it, rotate it a quarter or a third. Thanks to my buddies on the M14 forum for that. That was very helpful. Torque it again, turn it again, torque it again. So now we've got it, it's deprimed. I'll have to go in and remove the crimp. That's not a problem. That's the next stage, but that's another video. But we'll clean all the lube off of this. First thing we'll show is, remember how it was sticking out of there with a Wilson headspace gauge? Well, now look, it's right in line. It's below the top bevel and above the lower bevel. And you probably can't see this from this crappy camera, but it is just right where I want it. So the one thing that you know is working right is when you rotate it, it just falls right out of the gauge, the Wilson headspace gauge. Good sign. And then we'll go to the true tail of the tape here, and we were at what, 1.635, and now we're at 1.6255. So this is well within specs. I wouldn't have a problem at all loading this. So from this stage now, I'll remove the crimp, I'll clean the primer pocket, I'll probably have to trim the length of it, and then I'll chamfer and deburr the outside, and it's good to go. But I hope this is helpful. Don't be scared. The reason why I posted this was, don't be scared to get your press under a little bit of pressure. It's not going to hurt it to put it under a little bit of pressure, and it will work, no problem. I have a Redding small base die that's en route to me that I'll probably do this with in the future. But this New Dimension die, this Hornady setup, works just fine. So hope you find this helpful. Again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to join M14 forums. Those guys have been extremely helpful. But good luck to you, and join the NRA. Thanks.